Where are we holding?
We are in the middle of the Maimer talking about food and its connection. We got to the idea of food because this week hints to the Dov's name. I think we should take this off from the internet because constantly, okay, we just have to make something stronger. So that's referring to the hay. And in the poem on Shabbos morning, we talk about God revealing to us the secret of the 12 breads, of the showbread, what we call. And the secret of the showbread is the letter, the Inun Oz Bishmei, that is a letter in God's name. Which letter? Kefila Uklisha. The letter that is double and weak, which refers to the last hay. This led us into a whole conversation of eating, the idea of eating. So even though that over here in the Maimer, he doesn't talk about negative eating, I used the opportunity to talk to myself about eating not mindful and not being so focused. The whole idea of eating, and we said the whole idea of eating is connected to our relationship to the world and so on and so forth. Where we're up to in the Maimer is that when a person eats, what led us to talk about negative eating is because it says that we have to, when we eat, we have to do birurim. What does birurim mean? Sifting through, taking out the spark and elevating the spark. That led us to a conversation yesterday, what a spark is, what does it mean to elevate a spark, the importance of making a bracha before food, the ability to become spiritually more in tune. In other words, to grow your spirituality through eating food with a bracha. And now we're going to talk about the two different levels of eating food, the difference between eating food on Shabbos and during the week. So we already mentioned yesterday that in Chabad, Chabad is a bit extreme when it comes to these types of things, of mitzvahs, that the body also benefits from it. It's very easy to fool yourself. Are you doing it for the mitzvah? Are you doing it for your own sake? But still, it's a mitzvah to enjoy, to have pleasure on Shabbos. The pleasure on Shabbos represents God's pleasure in us, God's pleasure in creation. And during the week, the food is a dangerous arena. You go into the arena of food, that could cause major issues during the week. Whereas on Shabbos, it's a holy act, and on Shabbos it is on Shabbos it's a way of connecting to God. So let's see inside. V'zehu inyan, or in the line that starts with a v'gam. So he says like this: without the food, his heart would have become weakened, and also his brain becomes strong to meditate on God. That's the idea of the sifting through. You have it. The line that starts with the word v'gam. Those of you at home, it's page 30, and those of you using the booklet, it's page 7. Gam moichoy bas chazak lizbanim dos Hashem. We're in the middle of the line. That's the idea of the sifting. From the food becomes the man. That's where we also went off to discuss that literally eating becomes your body. That's why it's so important to be scrupulous about kashrut. You want to have the best foods, just like naturally you want to have healthiest foods. All of this refers to the weekdays. The Shabbos, but on Shabbos, on Shabbos, sifting is prohibited. So this is like a play on the words, but really is not a play on the words. It's a play on the concept, and it's not a play. It's real. That just like physically, there's a prohibition of sifting through on Shabbos. What does it mean on spirituality? In spirituality, there's a concept that you're not allowed to sift on Shabbos. In other words, there's no necessary obligation to sift on Shabbos. Why? Because on Shabbos, the world is holier. Therefore, you don't have to look for the spark. You don't have to work hard. Again, who remembers, how do we translate the word spark? You don't have to look hard for the intention within the food. In other words, the neutral existence of the food is not something contradictory to God, that you have to work hard to find the spark, because on Shabbos, the world is holier and the world elevates, and therefore it's more obvious and apparent that the world is godliness. And therefore, on Shabbos, we don't have to sift the food. Yeah, so where are we up to? On Shabbos boider asur elo achila on Shabbos. It's prohibited to sift through, which again means there's no need. Elo achila, in other words, Shabbos sifting through is prohibited in the halacha. But if Chassidus uses it as, what does it mean spiritually? Spiritually, there's no need to sift through. The eat food on Shabbos is much higher and elevated. The concept of eating food on Shabbos is drawing down energy. And as the Pasuk says, the Karasa la Shabbos Oinig, you should call the Shabbos pleasure. What is he saying over here? He's going to elaborate, but let me try to explain. He's basically saying two things. First of all, he's saying the idea that you don't have to sift through. It's more obvious and apparent that on Shabbos, it's godliness. But there's another big difference. When you sift through, you have to, so to say, go down to the food. The food is lower than you, and you have to go down to the food and bring it up, elevate it. And that's what we said. That's when food is dangerous, because either you elevate it to you, or if you're very indulged in your steak, what happens? The steak bogs you down to it.
Like the story told.
Like the story I said.
Cow with strength.
Yeah, but over there, that's not such a good story, because over there, ultimately, it was still in the realm of Shabbos. Still was wearing a straddle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the cow, the ox straddle.
Yeah.
It's even worse. Yeah? It's like, have the horns with the straddle. But over here, we're saying something else. On Shabbos, the food, and he's going to explain it. On Shabbos, the food is above the person. So you're not bending down to the food. The food is above you, and you're drawing down energy. See, there's a big difference of picking energy from the bottom or drawing it down from the top. And that's hinted in the Pasuk, V'karasa la Shabbos oineg. What does it say? You shall call the Shabbos pleasure. What does calling mean? You're bringing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're bringing it to you. You're calling it. You're not bending down to it in order to lift it up. You're calling it. And the calling, again, this is a play on the word v'karasa. You shall call it, so showing that it comes from above to below. Let's see it. How is that possible? How could it be? The food is higher than us. So this is going to lead us into an interesting conversation, which we won't be able to cover the whole thing. We're going to have a special class only discussing this idea of toyu and tikkun, which is a very important topic in Kabbalah. Those of you that read some Jewish mysticism know that the idea. Just a little tissue. Anyone has a tissue? I think just ran out of the last one. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. In Kabbalah, there's a concept called the world of Tohu and the world of Tikkun. Tohu is easy to remember, right? Tohu? Tohu, right? That's it. Once I say this joke, everybody always remembers how to say it. What does Tohu mean? The world of chaos. And then the world of rectification. It's a world of Tikkun. Now, one of the things that Kabbalah tells us is something very interesting. Again, the explanation for this will be in another week. Maybe even in 2 weeks. We're going to have not 2 and 3 weeks. In Parshat Vayishlach, we're going to talk about Tohu and Tikkun. We're going to discuss exactly what's the idea. In 2 sentences, what happens Kabbalistically? In the beginning, God created a world of chaos. something happened over there, without going into the whole explanation. It shattered. So that's very good. I don't want to say
what? There are no more of the other ones.
No problem, no problem. Thank you, and I'm sorry. Is that enough? Should I bring you some more? We hope it can get up.
You just put it in the box and get it up.
It's also part of the lie. It's like anything to add.
It doesn't look that it's
They understand.
yeah. It's beginning of winter. What does Kabbalah tell us? Kabbalah tells us that Shabbos, that how does the world work? The world works like this. There is the world of chaos, but over there was a world of lots and lots of energy, which actually led to its explosion or implosion, whatever you want. There might be, actually, it's interesting. Kabbalah says that both happen, implosion and explosion, right? And that's why the sparks fell down very, very low. Then comes the world of Tikkun, where that fell to the world of Tikkun. Again, all of this is Kabbalistic words, and we're not explaining it now. We'll have a special class to explain the whole process, why it happened, how to rectify it, and so on and so forth. But what is the idea? The idea is that the world, so to say, has two simultaneous trajectories, which is two ways of looking at the world. One is a perspective of a hierarchy in terms of, let's call it a hierarchy in terms of being focused or successful even. Let's call it successful. Then there's a different trajectory of a hierarchy of energy. And they're usually opposites of each other. In other words, who is higher? Humans or animals? Humans are higher. Humans are higher than animals. Animals are higher than vegetation. And vegetation is higher than inanimate. But where's the energy found? Why is it, and this is a question that the Alter Rebbe asks so many times in Torah Ohr, it's a topic that comes up over and over again, and it's because he wants us to inculcate it in our brains how it works. If we're higher than the animals and the vegetation and inanimate, why do we need them? Why do we need to consume them? I don't understand. I, human, I am higher in the hierarchy. Why is it if I want to have energy, I don't want to tick off any vegetarians over here, and there's no obligation to eat.
Offended.
Okay. It's always good to be on the verge of getting offended. It's a very good. Some people do it for a living.
Right.
They're always on the verge of getting offended. It's like waiting to now you offended this.
American college students.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to, but obviously it's not a joke.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to say that one of the reasons, like from again, some people say that Mashiach is going to come. Everybody's going to be vegetarian.
Rough cook.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very, 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 very possible. But from other perspective, everybody understands why people are vegetarians, because they feel that they're killing the animal. To a certain extent, spiritually, when you eat an orange or you eat a tomato, you're also killing its energy. So obviously it doesn't look the same because there's so much more energy to a living thing. You see a chicken, you see it walking around, and then it's slaughtered and it becomes chicken in your chicken soup, right? That sounds much scarier. But to a certain extent, obviously there's so much less energy in fruits and vegetables, but when you cut it off, that's why people that are spiritually conscious wouldn't just rip off a leaf. or rip off a branch for nothing. Why? I think there's a story like that. I think with Rebbe Rashab, the Friedrich Rebbe, they're walking in the park, and the Friedrich Rebbe was still young. I don't remember. I don't want to. Chassidus stories have to be said over precisely, and you don't want to botch with them. You don't want to mess with them. You don't want to botch it up. So, but I think the story goes that he was a young child and he just ripped off a leaf, and his father told him, "Look what you just did. You took something from the level of vegetation, and now it's inanimate." To a certain extent, that's also killing. On the other hand, when you eat something, and if you're eating it mindfully, you're taking the thing, you're taking that vegetation, you're taking that animal, and now you're making it human. You're bringing it up a level. So, again, not anti-vegetarian. Some of my best friends are vegetarian. Now, about the vegetarian meat and the vegetarian milk and everything. So, on one hand, it's killing. On the other hand, everything in the world is really killing. If you downgrade it, if you upgrade it, from a Chassidic perspective, you eat the chicken, you make it into a human. So you didn't kill the chicken, you made it alive. You brought it up. Again, from a spiritual perspective, I understand. Still looks scary. The chickens are frightened. It's not. I'm not dissing that. But the question of Chassidus is always, I don't understand. If we are higher, why do we need the energy of animals and vegetation? Or let's make it even simpler. We won't talk about food. I am higher than the horse, right? I think so, right? I'm higher than a horse, hopefully. When Chassidus says that when we sin, we're lower than the horse, right? Because the horse never sins. The horse never goes against its intention. He has a very small intention. He has a very small, I would say, very small mission in this world, but never goes against his mission. So the question is, again, for us, we're not spiritually minded like that. At least most of us. That this question doesn't really bother us. But Chassidus constantly asks this question. If I'm higher than the horse, so if I want to get to a different city, why do I have to ride a horse? And what is the answer? I might be higher than the horse, but the energy is found in the lower places. Why? Because the energy comes from a place that is higher than the person. The person comes from the world of tikkun. The energy fell from the world of chaos. Which came first, the world of chaos or the world of tikkun?
Chaos.
The world of chaos. In the words of the pasuk, where's the world of chaos hinted in the Torah?
First.
Where? That's true. But where in the Torah is hinted the details of tohu crashing the whole thing? That's by the end of Parshat Vayishlach by Alufei Esav, the officers of Esav. And what does it say over there? Vayim loich vayomos, vayim loich vayomos. You remember? In the end of Parshat Vayishlach, it talks over there about the not ministers, aluf. How do you say aluf? Chiefs, the chiefs or the commanders of Esav, and it says Vayim loich this and this name Vayomos, and he died. Vayim loich this name. If you want to look it up, you want to see it. You want to open up the computer. Yeah, I just want to show you how interesting it is that the whole pasuk over there talks about. Move it over here. The pasuk over there brings 8 names. And everyone, he reigned and he died. He reigned and he died. Let's go to Chabad.org. Like this, we also have the English. Yeah?
What are we searching?
Chabad.org. Vayishlach. Thank you. Vayish. Hi. Vayishlach. Very good. Vayishlach. Weekly Torah portion, and let's go to the 6th of the 7th.
Torah, 10. Wait.
The Chumash. Text and summaries.
Oh.
Not in a nutshell. Torah reading. Let's go to the 7th. Let's see. Oh, very good. These are the sons of Seir. Seir, the Horite, the inhabitants of Lotan, Shobel. Make it a tiny bit smaller, this so you can see the English. Yeah, let's go down, lower. Let's take away the fill in over there that like this Daniel could see. Oh, very good. 31. Verse 30.
Daniel. Who's Daniel?
I'm sorry, David. Okay. Which chapter is this? Like, there's the people at home, all the hundreds of people watching over here. Which chapter is this?
This is chapter 7. Wait, no, Parak. It's unparaked. Maybe 36.
Oh,
36.
Exactly. So this is 36, verse 31. Chapter Genesis, Bereshis, chapter 36, verse 31. What does it say? And these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the children of Israel. What does Kabbalah tell us? What is this hint? That these kings that we're going to talk about are higher than the Jewish kings or lower than the Jewish kings? Higher. Before. Why are they higher? They come before. Again, there's no before and after in spirituality, but what does it mean before? Has so much more energy. What happens in 32? Oren, you want to read?
Bela, son of Bela, reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinaba.
Right? What happens to Bela?
She died. And Judd,
why is it she?
Why is it?
It's a son. Bella's a son.
Bella sounds like a girl name.
Right. Are you?
No, you're right. It says son.
Are you in the 21st century? This was written in a different century. Yeah. Okay.
And Job, son of Zerah of Bozrah, reigned in his stead. And Jobab died.
Oh, and Jobab dies.
And Husham of the land of the Temanats reigned in his stead.
And what happens next?
died.
Husham died. Verse 36, Hadad dies. 37,
Saul died.
it's not Hadad. Samla dies. What happens, Oren, in 38? No, just at the beginning.
Saul died.
Saul died. Next.
Then Hanan died.
Balchanan, son of Achbor, died. Beautiful. Very good. So what happens over here? Verse 40, read verse 40.
And these are the names of the chieftains of Esau, according to their clans, according to their places by their names. Chief Timnah, Chief Alva, Chief Jephthah.
Beautiful. So the Torah goes over here discussing all the chiefs and they reigned and they died. They reigned and they died. They reigned and they died. What does it mean Kabbalistically? This is referring to the world of Tohu crashing, imploding, exploding. That's the idea of death. Well, we're going to have a special class on Tohu and Tikkun. We're just going to explain why this is called death and how the death works. But what did it say right away in verse 36? All right, let's read it again. Verse 36. Not 36. Sorry, that's word chapter 36.
And these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the children
Exactly.
of Israel.
It's before. It's higher. It has more energy. So the reason why we need to eat is, again, there's 1, 2, 3. 1, the highest level is the world of Tohu. Then there's the world of Tikkun. Then there's the worlds that we are in, which is Biyah, Bria, Tzirasiyah. So we come from the world of Tikkun, and the energy that we're dealing with comes from a higher place. They were just lost. They fell, the sparks fell, and our task is to elevate the sparks back to our source. Make sense? So the horse comes from a higher source than the human. That's why it has more energy. Then comes the human. Then the human has two choices now. Either he rides the horse or the horse rides him. If the horse rides you, that's very dangerous. So we are given the energy in the world to work with it, to focus it. It's like if you ever Have you ever worked with kids in the summer? There's this wild child. No one wants him in this bunk. That's you.
Yeah.
You're the counselor or the child?
The child.
Okay. Well. So what does a good counselor do? So every counselor says, no, leave me alone. Let him be in a different bunk. But what is a good counselor that really knows his stuff? What is he going to do?
Goes, talks to him, figures out what I said.
He says, I want him in my bunk because if I know how to call it? If I know how to direct his energy, if I know how to channel his energy. Thank you. That's the word. Then our bunk is going to win every challenge. So really, that wild child is higher than the other children or lower. He comes from a higher place, has so much more energy. It's just being misconstrued. That's the idea of reigning and dying. Dying means when you lose touch with your original source. But if there's a good counselor, the good counselor comes in the world of tikkun. He has the ability to take that child and channel his energy in the best way possible. And that is the Kabbalistic reason why, in order for us to live, we need to have access to food, to animals. Nowadays, we need Teslas, right?
The lowest form.
Inanimate is the lowest form. But if you want to get to places, you have to get into an airplane made out of inanimate stuff. Yeah? Or your phone. What is your phone? Phone is one of the most powerful things. Sit over here, and there are people watching, seeing me all over the world. How's that? Pieces of plastic. The energy that is found in the lowest, nowadays we know, an atom bomb. Where does the atom bomb come from? Also inanimate. The most powerful energy is found in the lowest, and it's our task to funnel it and channel it. Let's see inside. That's the idea of eating during the week. Let's see inside. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it before. That's connected to the Karasal Shabbos Sainik. Kihine. Everybody has it? The line that starts with the word us. Kihine. Ki. Hine ksiv. The pasuk says, Achor v'kedem tzartani. You have created me. Who's the me? Man. Achor v'kedem. Last and first. That's what the pasuk says. Man was created last and first. Achor l'masa braces. We were created the last one in creation. When were we created? On the sixth day, after the whole world was ready. But we are the highest. What's going on? Are we the highest or were we the last? So again, it depends on which trajectory. If you're looking from an energy level, we're the last. If you're looking in a leadership level, if you're looking on like who has the most power to do stuff, that's us. We have the ability to funnel that and channel that energy. So he says like this. The food, the way it's found down here, through the breaking of the vessels, the man who man comes first. After the energy fell and broke, who's higher, man or the energy? Man is higher. The food becomes sifted through, the food becomes cleared, gets elevated al yidei adam through the man. But in the source lamala above, he comes from the world of Tohu. Lifnei malach melech bnei Yisrael. Who remembers these words? Lifnei malach melech bnei Yisrael. Before a king reigned for the Jewish people. Who remembers this word? These words? Where are these words from? Huh? No, we just read it in chapter 36, verse 31. Oren read the words, and these are the ministers, the officers of Esau, of Esav, before there was a king. Elo, rather, but afterwards, Vayimlech Vayamos, they reigned and they died. Vayamos Vayimlech, they died and they reigned. What does that refer to? To the breaking of the vessels. but we still see that its root is higher than the man. Since the food gives energy to man, and the person receives energy from the food. Because from another perspective, on a different trajectory, man is the end of my separations. So basically, think about it in these terms. When we go down to food, we have the ability to channel it. So the food then is like this ADD wild kid that no one knows how to control. And if you're a good counselor, you know how to go to that kid and channel it in a good way. Or when you look at anything physical during the week, that you go into the arena, you have to be very focused, you have to be very mindful, and in order to make sure that the food doesn't drag you down, rather you take the food and you channel it to your needs. You lift it up. But on Shabbos, let's see, Shabbos. But on Shabbos, guys, it's so important to understand. Shabbos, the world is different. People sometimes think, Shabbos is the day, and I'm allowed to use my phone. It's wrong, guys. If a person has a tiny bit of spiritual consciousness, Shabbos is the day of spirituality. Shabbos is the day of the soul. From an external perspective, according to the connection to the internal dimension of Torah, to the inner dimension of Torah, to Kabbalah, to mysticism, to Chassidus, knows that Shabbos is a day where it's like vacation. It's a day when you could return back to you. That's why the Holy Baal Shem Tov instituted that before Shabbos starts, we should say chapter 107 in Psalms, in Tehillim, in order to celebrate the survival of the weekday. It's so important for your spiritual life, no matter how busy you're going to become, and hopefully you're going to run multi-billion-dollar companies. Just don't forget who was the first one that told you that you're going to run multi-billion-dollar companies. You're going to be busy the whole week. You have to maintain a day of spirituality. That's why Shabbos is a day where you spend more time with your family, you spend more time davening, you spend time bringing. It's a day, if you don't use the tool that's called Shabbos is basically the focal point of Jewish life. The world elevates. Let's see what happens on Shabbos. It's a different air. It's a different energy. It's a different life. It's a different. The energy of the world's on a different level. Shabbos, but in Shabbos, Huzman Aliyata Olamot. That Shabbos, the world elevates. Mis Allah HaMeichel K'moishu B'Sharshoy. On Shabbos, the food is the way it is in its source. If we're going to use the example of that wild child, there's one day a week where he is actually focused. Then he has the best energy. If the child comes and says, okay, today is my birthday, and on my birthday I don't do any trouble, that day you don't have to elevate him, you don't have to funnel him, you don't have to channel his energy, but rather you ask him for advice, so to say. You ask him, what could we do today with your brilliance and your energy? It's like usually you use it for destructive stuff. Usually I have to really tame you. Yeah, but also taming.
Tame.
Usually I have to tame you, but today the Ritalin really worked well. And could you give me advice how we could come up with a project that could take this whole camp and turn it around and make it the most positive? That's Shabbos. What?
Give them all Ritalin. Give them all Ritalin.
Give them all Ritalin. You know the story with a teacher. It's a very interesting story, and it's very funny, but also has a lot of it has a very deep message. There was a teacher in school that constantly complained about a child. That child had major ADD, ADHD. Nowadays it's the same thing. They decided to make it one, to combine it, to merge it. I don't understand when the DSM combines things. That's not my forte. Maybe someone else could explain why they combined it. What's the difference if it's combined or not?
There probably was if it was combined, so there's probably a ton of overlap on the criteria, the list of criteria.
Yeah. Okay, but what does it matter if it's combined anew? But basically, they made it into one. So there was a child that I couldn't sit, like ants in the pants, and his teacher would constantly get annoyed by him. The teacher couldn't stand it anymore, calls in the parents for a meeting and says, I cannot run the class anymore. I don't know how to deal with your child. I get annoyed by him every second. I can't. Making a condition. He could only come to class if he takes Ritalin. Could only come to class if he takes Ritalin. But the parents told him, listen, the child is very smart. We give him Ritalin in the morning, or I don't know. They give him, but basically he has to take Ritalin while he's in class. And if the teacher would remind him, he'll be very offended. He'll be embarrassed.
Yeah.
So basically the parents and the teacher decide that every day when he needs to take his Ritalin, most probably that's the time when it kicks in and he goes wild. The teacher should ask him, let's say his name is Berel, do me a favor, could you please go make me a coffee? Go into the teacher's room, there's coffee over there, make me a coffee.
Bring me coffee.
Yeah.
Bring me a coffee. So like this also the child will feel privileged. The Rebbe is asking him to do something special, and when he's there, he'll take his Ritalin. That would be our sign. No one in the class will hear. That's going to be the sign. He goes out, he takes his Ritalin, he comes back to class with a coffee, and that's it. That was the decision. The parents tell the kids what they made up, and that's it. From the next day, every day, 11:30, the Rebbe says in the middle of class, Beryl, go. Could you please bring me a coffee? He goes out with the Ritalin in his pocket. A week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and the parents call up the Rebbe, the teacher in class, and he says, things have changed. Amazing. Your child, sweetest child, everything is okay. It's working perfect. So the child says, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to take Ritalin. It doesn't bad side effects. So every time the Rebbe tells me to go make a coffee, I take the Ritalin and I put it into his coffee.
Oh, yeah.
You understand why the Rebbe didn't get annoyed anymore by that kid. Because the Rebbe, it was calmed down, he got Ritalin. Everything was...
he was locked in.
What?
He was locked in.
Exactly. So sometimes we blame other people for their annoying us. We're the ones that need to calm down. Okay, so how did we get to all this? Shabbos, the food is actually higher than us. Why? Because on Shabbos everything becomes obvious and apparent, and then you see the real face of the food. And what is the real face of the food? It's perfect high level of energy. And therefore, let's see inside. Avol be'ubis Shabbos. Let's read a few words of the Holy Alter Rebbe over here. Even though this is not a textual class and we talk so much, right? But ultimately, one word of the Alter Rebbe is these words contain holiness. My words are just to embellish. What?
Your messenger.
Yeah, but I'm putting it in my own words, not necessarily so true. But the words of the Alter Rebbe, every word over here is divine. Ube Shabbos, but in Shabbos, Shuzman Aliyah Soilim is that is the time of the elevation of the world. Mis Allah Hamachol, the food elevates Kemoishahu Bashar Shoy, the way it is in his root. The Nimshach Min Chayes Nefesh Milo Milo Lamata. Then energy that comes down is from above to below, al yedei yud beis lachamim, through the idea of the 12 breads in the Beis Hamikdash, the show bread. So what does the show bread actually mean? Why is it that in the Beis Hamikdash they used to eat the show bread on Shabbos? It's to signify, and that is the source of bringing down into the world, right? The energy of the world, when the temple was existing, the energy of the world went through the temple. That was to celebrate the higher level of food And then when we eat the cholent on the Shabbos, we're not elevating the cholent. We're getting spiritual energy from the cholent. That's the idea of the tzaddik eats for the satiation of his soul. What does it mean the tzaddik eats for the satiation of his soul? That the actual food satiates our spirituality as well. Why? Because on Shabbos, the food is obvious and an apparent. That on Shabbos, it's obvious and apparent that the food is not just merely something physical, but rather it has a lot of spirituality to it. And as I said, food is only the euphemism for a lot of other things. Why do you think we sing on Shabbos Eshes Chayil, the woman of valor? What, during the week she doesn't deserve compliments?
To welcome the Shabbos bride.
Yeah, it's also the Shabbos bride, but it's also your wife. It's so anyone that is married or anyone who's in a relationship knows, even though that women have very good memories, they remember things, something you said like 18 years ago, but they rarely remember that you told them that you love them. So you actually have to remind them very often, every hour or so. You have to remind them over and over again. Yeah, saying it in a joking way. We're not sexist over here. What? Very good, very good. It's always good to be on the verge of getting offended. But I'm telling you, what you always need to do, you have to constantly, every day, 15 times a day. Very important. Once you stop, you're in trouble. Yeah. It's very important. So I don't understand why on Shabbos we say Eshes Chayil the whole week. By the way, one of the strongest lines in Eshes Chayil is what? A lot of women, a lot of women are very successful, are very good. But you, you surpass all of them. This is something that she needs to hear over and over again. Right? Good marriage advice?
Yes.
Very important. You can also do it with your mother. There's a lot of good mothers. You're the best mother in the world. The best. Hashtag best mother, right? Hashtag best wife. But so why is it on Shabbos we do it during the week? What happens on Shabbos? Shabbos the world elevates. During the week, it's very easy to to abuse or misconstrue. I'm giving you a compliment, but I want to get something out of it. Shabbos, the world elevates. The world becomes more refined. And when on Shabbos we say Eshes Chayil, it's so much more meaningful.
True essence.
The world is less crass on Shabbos. And as we learned in Parshat Noach, every day also has a mini Shabbos. What is the mini Shabbos of every day? When we daven. So have a beautiful day and a very meaningful prayer. And tomorrow we're going to continue talking about the idea of eating on Shabbos and the different types of eating, because we just touched on a very interesting pasuk. What does it say? Tzaddik oichel l'soiva nafshoy. The tzaddik eats for the satiation of his soul. Ubeten rishoyim techsar. And the stomach of the evil is lacking. To be explained tomorrow, but let's finish with something good. Tzaddik oichel l'soiva nafshoy. The tzaddik eats for the satiation of his soul. Have a beautiful day, everyone.